Question number 1. Along the course of the portfolio, you will be monitoring and controlling the portfolio along with the related stakeholders and governance bodies. This is done as part of your role in portfolio oversight. As a portfolio manager, which of the following, in your opinion, is the objective or purpose of the provide portfolio oversight process? A simple question asking or testing your understanding of what we are going to do as part of the provide portfolio oversight process, which is part of the governance management knowledge area. Create an up-to-date list of qualified portfolio components. No, this is the defined portfolio process. Allocating resources to develop component proposals or execute portfolio components. No, this is part of the performance management and not of the governance management. Making governance decisions, that's true. This is what we do as part of this process. Balance the portfolio for performance and value delivery. This is the optimized portfolio process, so it's option C. The purpose of the provide portfolio oversight process is to monitor the portfolio to ensure alignment with organizational strategy and objectives and make governance decisions. You should expect not less than 6 to 8 questions in the real PfMP exam about the portfolio management plan components, in addition to the governance model and oversight. So here is another question about the risk score calculations, but in a different way or a different scenario. It's the same question with the same information. Through the portfolio life cycle, the risk manager provided you with a below table as a result of the probability impact analysis of the identified risks. After discussions, a decision was made not to address any risk unless the risk score is higher than 0.2. Recently, threat number 3 was discovered with a probability of 0.3 and impact of 0.9. What should the portfolio manager do? So the same table is given showing 4 risks. Probability and impact is given for each of them. The new update in this situation that a new risk was discovered, it's a threat, and the probability and impact of this risk will be 0.3 and 0.9 respectively. What should you do as a portfolio manager? Reevaluate threat 2 with the context of threat 3. Reevaluate threat 1 with the context of threat 3. Actually, both does not make any sense because there was nothing mentioned in the question that there is any relation between threat 3, which was recently discovered, and threats 1 and 2. So there is no need to reevaluate threats 1 or 2. Ignore threat 3. You need to determine the risk score of threat 3. And if it is less than 0.2, then you can ignore it. But by multiplying 0.3 by 0.9, it's 0.27, so it's higher than 0.2. So you cannot ignore threat 3. Develop a contingency plan for threat 3. This is what you should do because this risk should be addressed as per the criteria of the portfolio manager. Expect 2 questions in the exam about the risk score concept. We covered one in the previous lecture, and here is the second one. Question number 3. Managing strategic change is an integral part of any portfolio in order to remain aligned with the strategic objectives. Your portfolio has undergone a major strategic change, and you are currently determining the volume of work required to do in order to realign the portfolio. What technique are you currently using? Now you are determining the volume of work required to do in order to realign the portfolio. So it's something similar to a gap you are trying to determine. So you need to use the gap analysis for this purpose. It is performed to compare the current portfolio mix components with the new strategic direction or the to-be vision of the organization. This is essential to properly manage strategic change. So this technique is used in the managed strategic change process. This analysis determines the gaps and changes needed in the portfolio mix in order that components might be added, changed, or terminated. The reference to read more about the gap analysis is the standard for portfolio management, page 54. There was one question about the gap analysis in my PfMP exam, and I had one question also about the readiness assessment. Question number 4. You are managing a large portfolio and you know that you will need to consistently show the progress and status of the portfolio in the meetings. For this, you have developed a robust roadmap using BI tools, business intelligence tools like the Power BI. When it comes to portfolio dependencies, which of the following is true regarding the portfolio roadmap. Now let's see the options to know which one of the following is true. The portfolio roadmap includes programs and projects roadmaps, so it establishes the internal dependencies for the portfolio and its subsequent programs and projects. So the first one is stating that the portfolio roadmap will only determine the internal dependencies. The second one, the roadmap is internal to the portfolio, so it only establishes internal dependencies. It also supports option A. Option C, the roadmap caters for the alignment with strategic objectives, so it establishes external dependencies. Option D, the roadmap forms the initial basis on which dependencies are established, both within the portfolio and externally to the portfolio between the organizational areas, and this is the most true statement. In the portfolio roadmap, both internal dependencies will be determined and external ones with other organizational or functional areas. The roadmap forms the initial basis on which dependencies are established, both within the portfolio and externally, so they can then be tracked. External dependencies are those dependencies between organizational areas which are outside of the portfolio. Expect 3 to 4 questions in the exam about the portfolio roadmap. Question number 5, your company got recently acquired by another company, and the strategic directions which your portfolio is based on have been changed. Which document do you as a portfolio manager update to reflect the change to the timeline? Now, which of the following documents actually is representing the portfolio components timeline? It's the portfolio roadmap only. The timeline is shown on the portfolio roadmap. So if you want to update this roadmap or if you want to reflect a change to the timeline of the portfolio, definitely you need to update the portfolio roadmap. It depicts the high-level strategic direction and information in a chronological fashion, reflecting the timeline of the portfolio implementation and a clear path from the as-is to the to-be states. Again, expect not less than 3 to 4 questions in your exam about the portfolio roadmap. A new concept, which is the composite index. It's also not covered in the standard. We did not cover as part of this course, but you should expect 2 questions about this concept, and they will be very close to the example I'm showing you here. So question number 6, calculate the composite index for the following portfolio having the cost performance index weight 80% and the schedule performance index weight 20%. For each component, the net present value, the cost performance index, and the schedule performance index are given. So expect 2 questions about the composite index, very similar to this example. Now, the composite index, or in other terms known as the critical ratio, can be obtained by multiplying the cost performance index by the schedule performance index. Now, the weights are not considered in the formula. So even the weights are given for each criteria, they are not considered. They are just indications that are included in the question to increase the ambiguity and make the candidates scratch their heads. For this example, and given the table in the question, you will get the following calculations by multiplying the cost performance index with the schedule performance index for each component. You will have those results. Now, the portfolio composite index is the average critical ratio of its components. So you just need to do the sum of these 5 values and divide them by 5. So your composite index is 1.08. This is a very important question for the exam, and it is given every time in the PfMP exam. Question number 7, your company's new CEO has set an aggressive target and informed everyone that the target needs to be met by all means in order for the company to be able to realize benefits and avoid bankruptcy. What is the best management approach that the portfolio manager should take in this case? So you have an aggressive CEO with strict and aggressive targets, and the CEO informed everyone that if those targets are not achieved, we will face a bankruptcy in our organization. In this case, the portfolio manager should be directing, advising, supporting, or leading by sense, as the CEO is very aggressive, and to avoid bankruptcy, the portfolio manager should follow a directing approach. You are not in a normal situation. The situation is critical and the target needs to be met, should be met by all means. The CEO has put you there because he knows that you will get things done to avoid bankruptcy. For this, you must use a directing management style in order to be able to realize the targets and strategic objectives. All other options are secondary in this particular scenario. However, they are used just for listing. So you will mainly be directing in order to avoid delays and manage conflicts quickly. This is a typical question in the PfMP exam. Question number 8. Which of the following represents the portfolio governance management processes? This is a simple question. We have 5 processes as part of the portfolio governance management. We will develop the plan, we'll define, optimize, and authorize the portfolio, and then we will provide portfolio oversight. So it is option B. Typically question in the PfMP exam. Question number 9. As part of the portfolio life cycle, which of the following techniques can be used to check if the portfolio has deviated from the original plan? If I want to check if the portfolio has deviated from the original plan, I want to measure the variance. The variance is the difference between the actual and planned progress. So you need to use the variance analysis. It is the study of deviations of actual behavior versus forecasted or planned behavior in budgeting or management. Typical question in the PfMP exam. Question number 10. Developing the portfolio management plan is a major step in a portfolio and for the portfolio manager. You are currently developing this plan and having focus groups and brainstorming activities during which you are using mind maps, diagrams to organize the idea into logical groupings. Which of the below are you using? Survey techniques, facilitation techniques, integration of portfolio management, or collaboration techniques? Actually, the focus groups and the brainstorming sessions are examples of the facilitation techniques. During these sessions, a mind map diagram may be used as one type of tool to organize the ideas from stakeholders into logical groupings for consideration and incorporation into the plan. And for more about the facilitation techniques, you can refer back to the standard page 61. There was one question in my PfMP exam about the facilitation techniques definition and examples of the facilitation techniques.